town of Independence.
Wow.
As the wind is blowing those around. So the Grandview Triangle down to Belton, kind of the area we're really keeping an eye on right now as this is bowing out as it makes its way into southern Jackson and northern Cass County.
Yeah, and so Carly, we've been kind of talking about this. The Lee Summit area down into Belton is seeing these strongest winds now. That is kind of the apex of this bowing segment as it moves across the metro. That's where the strongest winds are from Lee Summit and to northern Cass County. Okay, I think we have another scout camera here that is continuing to show some of these strong wind reports. There we go. So this is the 35 area near the river. It looks like that's the bridge, and so you can see the heavy rain, torrential wind kind of coming in on this. Although this is near downtown and the river, just north of KCMO, and the strongest winds have just passed through this area. They're now moving into Independence. I want to see what the Independence camera looks like because that's what we were watching at approach, and I think some of those strongest winds are moving into the Independence area right now. So here it is. Yeah, we saw the dark clouds kind of approach. There's the lightning strikes, the rain, and the shelf cloud has now moved through the Independence area and continues to push across the Jackson County area. So I want to come back here to the radar and zoom in and pinpoint some of these strongest winds for you because, again, even though we're not seeing any tornadoes with this, we're seeing near tornado-like winds, and some of these. A low-wind tornado produces 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. That's also hurricane strength, and so that's kind of what we're seeing in parts of Jackson County and northern Cass County. So as I turn on our wind mode here, I want to continue to kind of pinpoint some of these strongest winds as we zoom in just a little bit here and click on some of these. So Belton area, Grandview area, we're still seeing these 70 mile per hour estimates. And the National Weather Service kind of confirming my thinking here that this is where the strongest winds are from the Grandview Triangle down to Belton, seeing the strongest winds. So it's now the south and southeast side of the metro that's seeing the worst winds now. This will continue to produce a line of damage, probably that stretches back through Overland Park and out towards Lawrence. But the strongest winds now are moving through Grandview, 70 miles per hour as power outages continue to grow. And that's going to cause problem.
Last I checked, Cindy, our producer, said 71,000
Wow.
customers without power. And this is before that line even made its way through the east side of the metro.
Yeah, and it's, yeah.
But lots of people are telling us they're watching on their phones.
Okay.
How fast is this going to move through? They're concerned about how long that's going to last because they can't charge the batteries.
Right, yeah, so these damaging winds probably going to stick around for the next 30 minutes to an hour as they're exiting the metro. Johnson County, the worst winds are over. Wyandotte County, the worst winds are over. But of course, with tens of thousands of people without power now across the metro and the rain and thunderstorms continuing, it's going to probably take a while to restore some of that service. So that could be an issue as well here as we go through this evening. So we're still watching the wind damage. Carly, maybe we can zoom out on that and kind of put a forecast track on where the ETAs for this damaging winds are heading towards.
Let me get you that.
And again, so the severe thunderstorm warning back in Douglas, Western Johnson, Leavenworth counties has been dropped. This is the severe winds really now in Jackson and Cass County. So Johnson County, yeah, I know it's still pouring outside, but the heaviest winds have now moved across the state line. And here's kind of the storm track for that. Maybe if we reposition that once again, it'll pop up those ETAs for us. And that's going to move towards Raymore here in the next 2 minutes, Unity Village at 4:26, downtown Lee Summit at 4:27, Lake Jacomo by 4:31, Pleasant Hill 4:35, and Lone Jack by 4:42. So this is the zone in southern Jackson County, northern Cass County that we're expecting the strongest winds to move through and produce widespread damage. Again, widespread power outages being reported, trees down, power lines down. Carly, do we have another update?
Mentioned this earlier, Jacob, but if people are just starting to tune in and they're wondering, hey, what about the Royals game? Here's a scout camera near the stadium. You can see the slow go of traffic. The worst of the weather has passed Kauffman Stadium, but there's a wall of rain behind the main line of very, very, very strong winds. The Royals, as a precaution and because of the storms and also more rain moving in, have gone ahead and postponed the game. It's going to be played tomorrow. The Monarchs have also postponed their game this evening. I'm not sure when they're going to be playing. Cindy, if you have that, we don't know that. But the Royals' makeup game for today is going to be tomorrow. So they're going to have a doubleheader tomorrow now. And that'll be because of just what's happening outside right now. For those who are just joining us, we have severe thunderstorm warnings that go until 4:30. This includes Cass County, Jackson County, Clay County, and it continues to race off to the east. And for those who are also just joining us, maybe you're watching on your phone, downtown Kansas City did report that wind gust of near 60 miles per hour. KCK had reports of 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts as well, and they've also had street flooding. That's one other secondary issue we're facing because of the amount of rain we've received in such a short amount of time. Flash flooding is now also a concern in Platte County, Clay County, Jackson County, Johnson County, Wyandotte counties. Most of those counties have flash flood warnings until 7 p.m. Getting some reports in Independence of trees down throughout the city, as well as in Paola. We've had reports of that in KCK, near Lake Quivira, Shawnee. So this has a history of not only producing 70-mile-per-hour winds or stronger, it's also downed trees, toppled power lines, and that's why we have over 70,000 people without power right now. So we are definitely monitoring this. This line has made its way through downtown, the worst of it. It's pushing off to the east, and it will continue to work its way off to the east, and eventually clear the region, but we're not done with it yet. And everyone who's in the path of this, ahead of this, and that includes those of you in Lone Jack, Grain Valley, Odessa, Holden, Warrensburg, Concordia, Lexington, you're under the gun because it's going to be moving in. This is no signs of weakening anytime soon. And Jacob's got the map up. The green he has there is the flash flood warnings, the yellow, the severe thunderstorm warning, and it looks like they just reissued another warning. Let me see.
Moving off towards the east there.
They went ahead and extended the severe thunderstorm warning. It's for considerable damage, winds up to 70 miles per hour, possibly some smaller hail, but this includes those of you in Cass County, Clay County, Jackson County, Johnson County, Lafayette, and Ray County. Those are all Missouri counties right now. The Kansas side, there's still rain falling, heavy rain in some spots, but the threat for severe weather has come down. This is now more of a Missouri issue as this line races in from the west to the east, and it will continue to do so at about 45 miles per hour. Just got another report at Unity Village in Jackson County, also of a wind gust of almost 60 miles per hour from the Lee Summit Airport.
Yeah, and that's right, Kelly. So the reason we're continuing to watch this is because it's a solid wall of damaging winds. 70 miles per hour have been consistently reported along this, and so it's just producing kind of a swath of damage. And in reality, because this is a line of straight line damaging winds, the region that is going to see damage is actually more widespread than a small tornado track. So we're going to see widespread damage from several counties across the metro. Here's that new warning. Again, as Carly was mentioning, more than 375,000 people here across Cass, Jackson, Johnson, and Lafayette counties, all in Missouri, until 5 o'clock. And you're still seeing here off towards my right how we're seeing some of those stronger wind gusts coming on through as we continue to see this line of damaging winds, and we're seeing lots of heavy rainfall as well. And we continue to see these strong wind reports. And I want to zoom back in here on the radar and show you where those strongest winds are now. We've been talking about from the Grandview Triangle down to Lee Summit into northern Cass County. These bright blues, that's where the strongest winds are being observed by radar, and it's actually heading right towards the radar there, Carly, and Pleasant Hill as well. So we're going to kind of get our best samples kind of as this storm gets closer to that. But still, our radar estimating that we're seeing 55 to 65 mile per hour winds here near Grandview, Belton. That's going to push into Raymore here very soon. Downtown Lee Summit about to see the worst of these storms along with Unity Village. And that's why the National Weather Service has said that this severe thunderstorm warning could produce, quote, considerable damage. That's kind of a special addition or upgrade to a severe thunderstorm warning that they can issue when the winds are even stronger than a typical 60 mile per hour threshold. The 70 mile per hour threshold is even stronger, and that's what we've seen today across the entire Kansas City metro as we continue to get in some reports. So I want to put a forecast track on these storms again as we're watching these. The strongest winds, again, if you're back on the Kansas side, have passed. So that's good news here. The rain and storms will continue, but this line of damaging winds is pushing east. So southern Jackson County, northern Cass County seeing the brunt of these strongest winds, pushing in here to Unity Village at any moment, 426, Lee Summit at 428, that's downtown, and then Pleasant Hill by 435, 440, Lake Lotawana around 440 as well, and then into Lone Jack. And it'll continue to push off towards the east and towards Johnson County, Missouri, and Lafayette County. Carly, do you have another update from the National Weather Service?
We just got a ton of storm reports, and I have a feeling this is how it's going to pan out, where we're just going to get inundated now that people have a chance to kind of figure out what's happening. The worst of the storms have passed through Johnson County. So I'm going to start with Johnson County. Okay. We've had reports of power poles broken, tree limbs down in Shawnee. Same for those of you in Overland Park. Yep. Same for those of you in Leavenworth County. We've had some reports of power lines and power poles broken along with tree limbs out. This includes those of you in Johnson County in Fairway, Merriam, Overland Park. That's all in Johnson County, Kansas. In the on the Missouri side, Kansas City and Jackson County also reporting power poles down tree limbs broken. This includes those of you in Kansas City and Raytown. For those of you who are checking in Wyandotte County, KCK, Westwood also reporting a lot of tree limbs down and power poles broken. We're getting a lot of calls, or Independence is also getting a lot of calls now as well, about trees into power lines, some of them on fire because of the trees falling into the power lines. Power is out for, remind me again, Cindy, at last we checked it was 71,000 customers. What is that
Looks
behind
like
you now?
130 now.
Okay, 130,000 people. We have been tracking this. We want to get back to our colleague Dave DeMarco. He's been out and about driving around. Dave, let us know where you're at now and how are the conditions on the roads? I know it's been pouring. Is there ponding on the roads? How's the wind situation? Kind of fill us in where you're at.
Yeah, a little bit of ponding, and we are heading on 470 East, just right in the Lee Summit, I believe the Summit Woods shopping area there at 50 Highway. So kind of we, as you've been saying, listen to you. I know last we had just come through the Grand Triangle. That's where we were. And now we're here right as they're the worst of it, as you were saying, hitting Lee Summit here in just a couple of minutes from downtown. As far as ponding on the road, I think a lot of the wind is pushing that off, as we've been right at the leading edge as we're coming up on the Unity Village area. As now, I mean, I have seen a lot of kind of debris that might have flown a little on the roads, some pushed over signposts and such. So definitely those heavier winds that we've been seeing as well, and pushing our Jeep around just a little bit, and obviously the cars, like as we've been mentioning, just trying to get through it wherever they're going safely right now as well. But it's been quite the drive this afternoon for the good hour that we've been coming all the way from the Kansas Speedway area that's taken us to get over here to Lee Summit.
Thank you so much for that, Dave. Stay safe. And Dave mentioning it's been kind of tricky for travel, and for good reason. We have had several storm reports. Jacob has up our storm report map.
Yeah.
On Weather 2, if we could. And also we have not only these reports coming in, we have some new video coming out of Overland Park as well of some of the damage. So our producer Cindy is working on getting that in as well. So Jacob, maybe you can kind of hash through some of these reports.
Yeah, wow. So this looks like a backyard at
Okay,
Overland
this is
Park.
video.
So I'm not surprised to see this, unfortunately. But
Oh,
these
man.
70 to 80 mile per hour winds looks like a complete swing set knocked over, tables, backyard over, trees down. Hopefully those did not fall on homes. You can see multiple trees down there, though. The swing set complete upside down in the backyard. This is in Overland Park. And we officially, Carly, I went through some of those. I just happened to click on this one in Leawood. 80 miles per
Okay.
hour confirmed.
Okay, yeah.
So we've seen hurricane force winds come through the metro. This is from a confirmed storm spotter in Leawood, Kansas, out in Johnson County. 80 miles per hour. That's tornado strength. That's Category 1 hurricane strength, which is why we're going to see widespread damage here, and we continue to see that pushing across. Okay, so we also, up in Leavenworth County, here you go, there's the storm coming in. You can kind of see the shelf cloud there behind the American flag, and that's why the flag's whipping there in the wind. Again, up in Leavenworth County, we had confirmed 70 mile per hour wind reports, and this is just kind of metro-wide. It's really all over the place that we're seeing these strong winds coming in here. And thank you, everyone, for sending in your video. Remember, if you're going outside to film this, make sure you're staying safe. Go outside after the winds have passed to show us the damage, but we don't want you outside in harm's way as these storms come through. Latest wind report out here in Jackson County near Lee Summit at the airport. 60 mile per hour winds there. That's sustaining our damaging wind threat, moving off towards the east right now, which is moving at about 40, 45 miles per hour. So here's the radar right now. Yes, it's still raining heavily in downtown Kansas City back into Johnson County, but the strongest winds are now pushing quickly kind of away from the core of the metro. Still, though, heading out towards the east, I want to track this for us, heading into Lafayette, Johnson County, Missouri. Here's the timestamps here. Right now, the strongest winds are in Pleasant Hill, Blue Springs, Lone Jack. They're going to push out of the metro, out east. So Odessa here in about 15 minutes, Warrensburg by 5 o'clock, Noster and Whiteman Air Force Base by 5:20. So this is the damaging wind line moving east. Behind it, it will continue raining with some thunder at times here this evening, but the severe threat will diminish very quickly here across the metro. So here's kind of the wider view of Fox 4 radar. There's the damaging wind line moving off towards the east. Rain continues in the Northland back across Kansas, but notice certainly not as much lightning, and the wind damage, which has kind of already moved on through, will continue to push off towards the east. Okay, so we have another scout camera. This is out in Blue Springs here. This is where the line of damaging winds is right now. And we can see the visibility very low with the raindrops coming down, and then on the side of the road, some of the grass, bushes, and trees really blowing in these winds. Already confirmed reports in Jackson County of 60-mile-per-hour winds. Could be stronger in spots. Blue Springs kind of seeing the highest winds right now as we're kind of moving through here. So the only severe thunderstorm warning now looks to be this warning, which, Carly, that goes until 5 o'clock.
Correct.
Or 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And so this is the severe thunderstorm warning that's now for the east side of the metro. So here it is, moving from Lee's Summit out towards the east into Lafayette and Johnson County. So I'm going to zoom in and kind of show you what counties are included in this warning. And that's blinking right there here on our Fox 4 radar. We still have several 100,000 people in this. So this is for Cass, Jackson, Johnson, Lafayette County till 5 o'clock. Close to 400,000 people in this severe thunderstorm warning. And I think the National Weather Service is still calling this a destructive thunderstorm, capable of producing widespread damage and 70-mile-per-hour winds across the metro. As we're continuing to watch here, it looks like the National Weather Service continuing to give us updates. Carly, do we have any updates?
So just more storm reports. I think
Okay.
this is going to be pretty common. We've got
Yeah.
trees uprooted, trees down, power lines snapped. And when you see power lines snapped or lines down, this is not going to be a quick fix power issue either. Just for people who are maybe trying to figure out how their weekend's going to plan out.
Right.
You know, they might be without power for a little bit because we are
Yeah.
now over 100,000 customers without power. So the crews have their work cut out for them, for sure. Big picture behind you shows the radar in the bottom corner. In addition to that, the cameras that we're showing. This is, which camera is this that we're looking at right here?
This looks like
Independence camera. Okay, where we still have some pretty strong winds, but the worst of it has passed Independence. Buckner, Grain Valley, Lone Jack, Pleasant Hill, you're all under the gun right now, along with Harrisonville, Gun City, and Holden. We're watching this line push off to the east. Still has a little bit of a characteristic of a bow
Yep.
on the front edge, which means the winds are not decreasing. They are maintaining, which, as for those who are just joining us, have been up to 70 miles per hour. So
Right.
this is problematic. This line, the leading edge, has a history of producing very strong winds, power outages all over the place, trees down, power lines snap, power poles snap. It's not good. And they've continued this warning that you can see flashing here on radar. It goes until 5 o'clock. I wouldn't be shocked if it gets issued again for that leading edge as it pushes
Yeah.
east. But right now we have Lafayette, we have Johnson County on the Missouri side added into this warning, in addition to those of you in Cass and Jackson, and really southern Ray County is included in this, right along the Missouri River. This is just south of the town of Richmond.
Right, yeah, so lots of rain with this as well, Carly, as we've been kind of talking about. I just got a report from one of our storm trackers out in Shawnee, Kansas. Over 2 inches of rain in the last 2 hours. That's why we have a flash flood warning out there. That's going to cause some ponding on roadways as well out towards the east. And I kind of want to see here if we can pull up the rainfall estimates here across the metro. Carly, one thing I also wanted to do, maybe on Max One, if we can pull up maybe the latest Futurecast and Microcast so that people can expect what the rest of the evening has in store. But still watching this line of damaging winds moving through Lone Jack, Pleasant Hill, as we kind of zoom on in here and show you some of these strongest winds. And query these. So Strasburg, northern Cass County, southern Jackson County near Lone Jack. This is where our strongest winds are. The National Weather Service in this latest severe warning update has notched the winds now down to 60 miles per hour. So this is now slightly drop in our wind speed, but still 60 miles per hour is going to produce scattered wind damage across parts of the Missouri side of the metro. And right now those strongest winds are kind of centered on Pleasant Hill. It's just passed through Lee's Summit and Raymore now, so it's moving through Strasburg, Lone Jack, and it's about to push here into Johnson County, Missouri, and Lafayette County, Missouri. So out towards Warrensburg, that's where the strong storms are heading next, as this line of damaging winds is kind of moving away from the metro. Okay, so it looks like we have another video from the crossroads. Yeah, there's the flash flooding. Yikes.
Abbott. The Abbott is where we have Art That Blows tonight.
And that's
Our
a
big
smart
event.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what not to do.
Yeah, do not drive
basically.
through.
We have flooding, flash flooding, I should say, reported throughout several cities, and here's video of one location. This
Wow.
is the Abbott shooting down towards the street, and this is where in about an hour we're supposed to have Art That Blows, the big event
Right.
for Band of Angels,
Yeah.
where we're going to have Pat McGonigal, Michelle Bogowitz will be emceeing. I'm wondering if they're having a hard time getting to the Abbott. And obviously, if the roads look like this, guys, don't drive on them.
Right.
Because the problem we're going to run into is, number one, you don't know how deep the water is. Number two, if the water is deep enough that you can't see the road, it could be washed out at some point.
Right.
So this is why we say turn around, don't drown, find an alternate location, an alternate way to get around to wherever you need to go, because we are seeing this type of situation, flash flooding. Here's another video out of Overland Park earlier. Someone's backyard playset toppled, turned upside down, destroyed all of the furniture there, their patio table flipped over, and unfortunately, this is going to be a common scene across a wide swath of real estate. We're not talking about a very isolated issue. This is a very widespread issue. And I'm looking at your radar, Jacob, and I'm seeing how it's kind of rotating in on the backside, on the north side of this little bow.
Yeah.
And that would indicate to me that this is not weakening, that this is perhaps trying to maintain or maybe even get a little bit stronger as it pushes
Right.
off to the east. It's tapping into some really hot, unstable air, and it is going to cause more issues as it works in. See that little spin there on the north side?
Yep.
That's going to feed into that bow.
Yeah, and that's kind of, as Carly was talking about, it's kind of ingesting the warm, moist air out ahead of this, being wrapped into this, and that's going to push a surge of wind here right out 50 highway. So Warrensburg, Johnson County, Missouri is probably going to see the next damage as we're tracking this through. I was just checking the rainfall amounts here across the metro, more than 1 inch in the last hour at the downtown airport. And it also looks like MoDOT is reporting that I-35 near Penway, so that's right outside here at Signal Hill, has water over the road. So I don't know if we can get a picture of that, but
Okay.
I-35 might be flooded here, kind of coming into downtown Kansas City.
Let me see if I can get our tower camera pointed at that.
Oh,
At
wow.
where?
David Marco at Lee Summit says no working streetlights.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so Lee's Summit is probably out of power for most of the city as that power outage number continues to climb. So we're still watching widespread power outages here across the metro. Jackson County has more than 35,000 people without power. Yeah,
Hey,
so
if we can get our tower camera, I think I have the flooding on 35. I'm trying to get to it right now. Hold on. There we go. Can we get that? The tower camera? I'm zooming in on it right now.
yeah, so this is MoDOT telling us that I-35 at Penway, which is coming into downtown, kind of coming up I-35 is flooded. Yeah, so there it
you go.
is.
There you go.
Ooh, yikes, that does not look like a good situation. Again, remember what we say, turn around, don't drown. If you see the floodwaters on the roadways, you do not want to drive through that. Kind of hard to focus here on this, but you're looking at I-35 coming into downtown Kansas City here from our Fox 4 tower camera. And that's some pretty widespread flooding. I think there's also might be maybe our boulevard camera around there at the rooftop.
Let me try to get that going. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, let's look at that. This is another view, kind of I-35 there in Southwest Traffic Way.
Okay, hold on, I'm getting
So
it.
I bet that the flooding issue might be right up there.
Oh, hold on.
That's where all the cars are stopped. So that's probably the issue, getting across. That's Penway and kind of Southwest Traffic Way. Heading in north into downtown Kansas City, it looks like I-35 may be
Here we go.
nearly flooded, which is not a good situation getting into downtown.
There we go.
Here for the evening commute as we approach 5 o'clock here. So the flooding is now being a big concern for us. We saw that video. I'd like, if we can, show that again from the crossroads near the Abbott in downtown Kansas City. That is a big problem as we're seeing flash flood reports come in from across the metro. There you go. So this is in the crossroads. There's the Abbott looking here from the roof, which is where our Fox 4 Art That Blows event is supposed to be in an hour or two. Do not do this. You don't want to drive through flooded roadways because you cannot see through that water. You can't see if a road has been washed out. You can't see if there's debris in there. That is very dangerous. So there was...
Pointing out, that's a part of town that has a lot of construction going on.
Right.
Who knows what the road looks like in the best of season.
Exactly, yeah. So that's going to be causing problems. You really, ideally, stay off the roads, maybe check the maps before you head out this evening because we're getting in reports of more than 2 inches of rainfall across parts of northern Johnson County. Shawnee, Overland Park, some of our rain gauges from storm spotters out there, more than 2 inches of rain have fallen in the last hour alone.
There's more on the way.
Right, and it's going to continue raining. It's not stopping anytime soon. So Carly kind of zoomed this out for us. Though damaging winds are pushing east of the metro, but the rain certainly continues here, way back into Manhattan. So we've got an evening of rain ahead for us. The flooding really only going to exacerbate here over the next couple of hours, Carly.
As we look around the region, maybe we need to set the scene for folks who are just
Yeah.
tuning in right now. Jacob Lanier and I have been keeping an eye on some things for the last, 40 minutes or so as this line blew through Kansas City with a history of producing storm damage. And we're talking about trees knocked over, power lines knocked over, power poles snapped, a history of 70+ mile-per-hour winds, in addition to 1 to 3 inches of rainfall. So not only
Right.
are we dealing with power outages and very strong winds, we're also dealing with a flash flood issue. We also are seeing over 100,000 customers without power.
Yep.
What are we up to right now? I can't
That's
see.
130,000
Okay,
customers still.
130,000 people. And we're getting wind gusts reported in Lee's Summit. That line blew through there not long ago. Confirmed reports now of 60 to 65 mile-per-hour wind gusts in Lee's Summit. Independence has damage with large tree branches and some trees down.
Yep.
And we still have this severe thunderstorm warning for the east side of the 435 loop. But really the worst of it is that leading edge that's just outside of Wellington, Odessa, Oak Grove, Kingsville, Harrisonville, eventually Warrensburg. You mentioned earlier, 50 highway is not a place you want to be here in just a moment driving.
Nope.
Along with I-70, and then even Interstate 49. The amount of lightning we're seeing down in Cass County right now, just outside of Harrisonville. Let me scoot this up so you can see it here. That is a problem as well, because it's not just a rain and a torrential rainfall and a wind event. We're also getting a ton of lightning as well. So we're going to have to watch this very closely. Also, I'm looking at your radar, Jacob, the tail end of that down towards Archie.
Yeah,
has
that's
me
what
a
I was
little
kind of.
concerned as
That's what I
well.
was kind of looking at here on our Fox 4 wind mode. Here, I was just going to kind of query some of these winds and show you how strong. We're still seeing near 55 to 60 miles per hour, moving into parts of Johnson County, Missouri. And that's where this wind line is, and that's why the severe thunderstorm warning continues, pushing off here towards the east. So Warrensburg is kind of next in line across Johnson County, Missouri, the strongest winds coming in. And we're still watching here. Again, we had that one tornado warning that was unconfirmed back north of Lawrence, and we're still watching maybe for a little bit of strong wind damage as this moves off towards the east, off towards the south, watching maybe a little curl or hook there. Okay, out in Blue Springs in Jackson County, we still have another camera to look at here showing some of the heavy wind and rain coming through the metro area on the Jackson County side. If we can take a look at that Blue Springs camera showing some of the heavy rain and wind that's coming through the metro. The strongest winds have now just pushed through, but there you go. Hard to see much out there in Blue Springs as the torrential rain continues. The latest rain gauge report I have from Shawnee, Carly, 4.5 inches.
My sister she's 2 blocks away from us at 31st and Main at CCVI. She just sent me another picture. There's some very heavy rains there, but up north in the Northland near Vivian and Choteau,
Yeah.
there are cars that are almost underwater. I'm working to get this picture on right
Wow.
now. She just sent me this photo. Not a good situation, and that's up in Clay County where it wasn't even as bad from a
Right.
wind standpoint. Yes, they certainly got the heavy rainfall, but the wind standpoint wasn't as bad down up in Clay County. Still some issues up there, but localized very heavy rainfalls causing flash flooding. So I'm afraid as we see this line bowing out and continuing to push east, eventually it's going to clear our area, probably within the hour. Our entire viewing area will be cleared with this storm threat for
Yep.
the strong winds. What we're going to transition into now after that is a flash flood concern, because we just picked up 1 to 3 inches or more in some spots, and there is a wall of rain behind this leading edge. And that is why a lot of these counties that are under flash flood warnings, it doesn't expire in the next 30 minutes or so. It goes until 7 p.m. because there's that threat now, a secondary concern, as people are maybe going out to survey the damage around their home. People are without power. We're not done with the rain yet. It is going to rain probably through 8 o'clock tonight easily, and not just light rain. It could be moderate to heavy rainfall at times as well.
Yeah, it's going to
Something
cause...
we're watching.
Yeah, and it was really an issue for your Friday night plans driving around. Again, we're getting reports from MoDOT, and we can kind of see from our camera here behind me that I-35 coming to downtown near Penway, Southwest Traffic Way, is flooded in spots. So it's very difficult to get around and slowing down the traffic there heading into downtown Kansas City. So you need to be aware of this. We have flooded areas across the metro, downtown in the crossroads, seeing some ponding waters. I think we have some flash flooding reports as well back from across the Johnson Jackson County metro area. And I want to actually kind of click on these, our flash flood reports, and see what we have so far across the metro. And some of these, it's just hard for the National Weather Service to process when we have so many flooding reports across the metro. But still, here's this swath of wind damage over the last 2 hours. So it started back in Douglas and Jefferson County around 2 o'clock, moved into Leavenworth County around 3, Overland Park around 3, Johnson County, Wyandotte County 3 to 4, and then now as we head towards 5 o'clock, it's moving into Jackson County. And some of the strongest winds, I want to just zoom in and show you this one. From Johnson County, we had a confirmed wind report of 80 miles per hour. That's in Leawood. 80 miles per hour from a trained weather spotter. Again, that is hurricane force. Here, moving through the metro, that's when we have widespread wind damage across the area, and the rain has really been torrential, causing some flash flooding issues. Let's see if we can take one of our tower cameras, maybe just to show kind of the view here. So again, we're still watching this view, I-35 into downtown Kansas City, showing the flooded interstate going into downtown by Southwest Traffic Way. That's going to cause issues all evening long. And it looks like that all lanes, I'm looking at the scout camera at I-35 northbound at West Penway, guys, shows the water completely over I-35 northbound. There's not one lane that is drivable on I-35. So that's a problem here. So if you're coming in I-35, if you have people that are coming in, you need to take the exit into Penway and the Crossroads, because anything past that Penway and Crossroads exit into downtown, completely flooded. All 5 lanes are covered with water, and you can't drive through flooded roadways here. That's dangerous. Your car can stall out, and you don't know what's in those waterways. You don't know the structural integrity of the road that's underneath you, because you can't see the bottom of it. So that's a big problem. So it's a combo threat here this evening. The damaging winds, 80 mile per hour reports from Johnson County, that is now moving off towards the east, and the flooding threat will continue to grow here as we head through this evening. Latest Fox 4 radar here continues to track the heaviest rain moving east of us, but still kind of steady to light showers across the metro. And I want to zoom off towards the east here where this line is continuing and put another storm track on this, because this still has reports of 50 to 65 mile per hour winds as it moves off towards the east. So right now it looks like this is going to be arriving in Lexington, Lafayette County by 5:02, Warrensburg at 5:11, Knob Noster, Whiteman Air Force Base by 5:25, and out towards Sedalia as we approach the 6 o'clock hour. So I think by 6 o'clock, the wind damage will be completely removed from our Fox 4 viewing area, but the heavy rain continues here across the metro. So maybe, guys in the back, so we're almost watching our power here at the station. We might have taken a quick hit there. And that could be also caused by flooding issues as well across the area. Downtown, seeing some flood problems. The gusty winds continue, lightning bolts around the area, and we're still watching here off towards the east. Okay, so we have another report here from KCK. You can see a tree completely down on what looks like a car. So that is just one of many tree down reports that we have across the metro. And I'm afraid, okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jacob. I got a report of a tree down now in Jackson County in the town of Maywood. There's a large tree down on a house. That happened about 20 minutes ago in Jackson County as that storm blew through. Over 4,000 residents in the town of Independence, also without power.
Okay.
I'm getting some reports. My sister is up in the Northland in Clay County near Vivian and Choteau. Avoid that area if possible. They are using tow trucks to push cars out of the water right now.
Wow.
She just sent me a video. I'm trying to get it worked up into our system right now. But tow trucks are being utilized to literally push cars out of the water right now because there is so much flash flooding up there. That's at Vivian and Choteau. So we're definitely keeping an eye on. What's that, Cindy? Okay, here's the video right now. This is from my sister of the tow trucks, literally using tow trucks to push vehicles out of the water here at Vivian and Choteau. You can see it right there in the center of your screen. There are some police on scene trying to kind of help direct traffic and get people out of the way. But this is exactly why we tell you, please don't drive in the water. It is flooded. It is causing issues. Your car could stall, and then it causes other issues, secondary problems with traffic headaches, in addition to all of the very strong winds. But I'm getting reports right now out of the Northland, out of areas east of town. This is the Abbott, which is in downtown Kansas City, where there is street flooding in the Abbott. Unfortunately, the Band of Angels Art That Blows event starts within the hour, and I'm not so certain people are going to be able to get to that event right now because this is what it looks like literally outside of said building. The Abbott, around the Abbott is flooded. There's
Wow.
flash flooding not only in downtown Kansas City, but all over the metro because we've had reports of 1 to 3 inches of rainfall, and a lot of that fell within about 30 minutes time.
And that's why we see the ponding issues and the flooding issues. So our highest rainfall report so far has been out in Shawnee, Kansas, more than 4.5 inches in a rain gauge out there. And we can see why kind of this thick band of heavy torrential rainfall continues to track here off towards the east. So Lafayette County, Johnson County, Missouri will continue here to see the heaviest storms move off towards the east, but the flooding issues now pretty widespread across the metro area. And I wanted to see here if I can kind of pinpoint, okay, let's look at Independence here to see some more damage and kind of wind reports from across the metro. There's the wind coming in. And you can kind of hear the rain falling there, see the trees blowing in the wind.
Wind probably at least
And that's
70
causing
miles
some
an hour.
wind damage. We have several reports in Jackson County of trees down, some on cars. And those trees are easily uprooted in the heavy rainfall. When we get several inches of rain, it kind of loosens up the ground, the soil, and it makes it easier for some of those taller trees to topple over because the roots kind of get weakened in the moist soil and it's easier to uproot them. So the flooding, the wind damage, when you combine those two, it results in even more problems and more downed trees across the area. So flooding our primary threat now as the winds continue to push off here to the east of the Kansas City metro. But the rain, unfortunately, is going to continue for a while here as we take kind of this wider view. And Carly's kind of putting a track on this, Carly. Thank you again for tracking this out here to the east. So
Updated and for
Yeah.
updated ETAs for Warrensburg especially. They're at kind of the apex of that bow, and so I'm a little concerned about 50 Highway in Warrensburg right now.
Yeah, it's been kind of tracking right out from Lee Summit out 50 Highway into Johnson County, and we've been talking about this bow echo. It looks like a bow and arrow, or kind of a backward C. The center of this, the apex of this bow, is where the strongest winds are always in a wind storm like this. And that's what we're seeing heading right into Warrensburg. And so they're going to see the strongest winds here, probably 60-mile-per-hour winds, and more tree damage for parts of Johnson County on the Missouri side. I want to go to our velocity mode and zoom in and kind of check on how strong some of these winds are. Ooh, yeah, that's up
Yep,
there. As
that's
we
a
zoom
problem.
into Warrensburg and kind of query some of these winds moving in towards Johnson County. So there you go. Again, this is Johnson County, Missouri now, but still Warrensburg, 70-mile-per-hour winds incoming. Right now, those strongest winds are near Holden, moving into Centerview there, 50 Highway and 58 Highway there out in Johnson County, Missouri. So this strong line of winds about to come into downtown Warrensburg. So again, even though this isn't a tornado, make sure you're inside because you don't want to be out when this damaging wind line comes through. Debris is going to be thrown around, wind damage likely with trees and power lines being toppled. We have those reports from across the metro. And we continue to have this severe thunderstorm watch in effect for the area. I want to show that here, and that goes until 7 o'clock.
That, so
Oh,
that
good.
I think is a good little indication of where we're
Correct.
at. And I wouldn't be shocked if a couple more counties on the Missouri side get dropped as it works its way out of Jackson County and Clay County, even Ray County. We're not there yet, but
Right.
a lot of cities getting cleared because the threat has certainly gone down. It's considerably less, and we're transitioning more to a flash flood issue now.
Yeah, so the wind threat is continuing to shift east, and so as Carly was mentioning, a lot of these western counties, Johnson County, Wyandotte, Platte, Leavenworth, dropped from the watch. So that's good news, but the rain and flood threat will continue here this evening. So a severe thunderstorm watch continues for part of the area, flooding threat ongoing. And we're going to continue to track this. We have team coverage here. Kevin Berry and Lauren Halifax now have updates on the storm damage from across the metro, guys.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jacob. We've been tracking some information, too. We just got information in from the Kansas City Fire Department. They're asking people, like been talking about before, Jacob, not to drive through those flooded waterways. So not only on 35 right now, but over by the Abbott and in parts of downtown. You just can't see where your tire would hit the road. They're saying there could be some open manhole covers that have been moved out of place or turned over. That could eat up your tire. Storm drains can be deadly when you can't see them. They say call 911 if you're in trouble, and certainly don't try to drive through any of those things like the pooling that we're starting to see on the highway right now.
We're also seeing massive power outages across different counties, more than 20,000 just in Wyandotte County from the Board of Public Utilities. But one thing that we are seeing, this is right here, is that an Evergy map?
Yeah, that's up another
more than 100
20,000 since we last looked, too.
That's more than 150,000
Yeah.
people. Then one of the things that we are seeing that at least is a positive is temperatures. People report that temperatures have dropped dramatically after this has moved through. For example, some folks in Wyandotte County said temperatures at their house dropped from 101 to 72. They've had at least 1.5 inches of rain. So again, please, wherever you are, if you're safe, stay there. And you might want to keep your phone charged. If you're watching us maybe on a tablet or a phone, we don't know how long it's going to take to get some of the power back on in some of these areas because so many lines have been torn down from trees falling.
On that note, worth noting that Evergy has a big red box over the entire part of the Kansas City Metro, all the way west to Edgerton or Gardner and the Olathe area. You can see that red box there. That's an information area that says delayed restoration time. So that means the weather's so bad, they're not really going to be able to get crews out to address all those outages. And we've watched that outage number, the 152,000 people on the left side there. We've watched that climb over the past 50 minutes now to be where it is now. It was about 71 when we first came on the air an hour ago. We watched that wall of wind come through the metro area, and now it's all the way up at 152, and that weather is still going to be in our area as it moves forward. You see what they're trying to tell folks there. I understand we have Dave DeMarco out on the road. He's been driving around. He was in Johnson County last time we checked in, then Lee Summit, where, Dave, you were telling us that there were no street lights on, kind of an evidence of all those power outages over in that part of the metro now.
Yeah, we saw that north of 470 and Lee Summit. Once we made our way down closer to downtown, did see some of the power working there as well. Now we're heading on 350 back towards Kansas City, just through Raytown there and passed over Gregory. And you see, maybe you saw off there to the right, some of the debris on the roadway, and then some of what we were dealing with, especially as we're getting into this situation now where we had been in that heaviest storm for an hour as we went all the way there from KCK over to Lee Summit. Almost got struck by lightning as we were going across the bridge over the Kansas River there as well on 435. But now that cars are able to move faster through here, you're seeing some of that ponding on the roadway that we just saw off to the right there as the cars coming through there. So that's probably really the main concern is now the rain is a lot lighter. The storm, the heaviest part of the storm has moved off, but some of the remnants are behind, and that's what we're going to kind of making our way back towards Kansas City to some of those areas and just make sure everyone is doing well as well there. Kevin.
Around for the last hour or so. Also worth noting that the KCI airport is experiencing a whole bunch of delays, as you can imagine, weather related. About 50%, more than 50%, it looks like, of the departures are very late. Almost the rest of them are some sort of late, and some of the arrivals are being affected as well. So if you do have travel plans, be sure to check in on those before you try to brave the roads. Probably not a good idea to be out there, depending on the part of the metro that you're coming from.
And just so happens, KCI reported earlier today, this is their busiest travel day that they have seen so far this year. So that's going to be a lot of people there stranded. Again, the storms are bringing down some really heavy rain. As they push through, though, that's the first time we've seen power restored, or at least on some of the roadways in the last hour that Dave has been out checking roads around the metro. So hail damage as well for some people that they're reporting. Let's get back to Jacob Lanier. What are you hearing, Jake?
Yeah, so guys, right now it looks like the worst winds are slowly moving east of the metro. So the Kansas City Metro now kind of wrapping up our wind threat, and it's shifting into a flash flooding threat. Over on Max 1 control room, if we can take that, the rainfall totals here across the metro, the downtown airport reporting now nearly 2 inches of rainfall in downtown Kansas City. We've had several rain gauges out in Johnson County report 2 to 5 inches of rainfall, and that's causing problems with flooding issues across the metro. But here's the latest severe thunderstorm warning, and we have a brand new one, and this has been extended off towards the east. As we've been tracking this swath of damaging winds continue to push off towards the east. So let's show this for you. It includes parts of Pettis and Carroll County. Saline counties are and off towards Johnson County on the Missouri side as well. So here it is for Higginsville and Lexington, Warrensburg, Saline, Lafayette, Johnson, and Henry counties until 5:45. And this severe severe thunderstorm warning includes about 60,000 people. The latest wind estimates on this severe thunderstorm is about 60 miles per hour. So earlier when the storm moved through Johnson County, we had 70 mile per hour to 80 mile per hour winds. The winds have come down just one notch. So still expecting wind damage with this. And as it moved through Cass County, the emergency management there kind of reporting that there are some scattered power outages and power lines down across the area. Not very widespread, but it also looks like parts of Independence are seeing several thousand customers without power as well. So power outage, a big problem here this evening with so many out, more than 150 across the metro. That's going to take a while to put back power on, and also the flooding risk will continue as well. I don't know if we can bring back up the video of some of the flash flooding in downtown Kansas City, because that's really kind of one of our main problems here over the next couple of hours. So right here, you're looking from the rooftop of the Abbott, which is in the Crossroads in downtown. Notice the intersection is completely underwater, and this car is an example of what not to do. When you see water, you want to turn around, don't drown, because you can't see the bottom of the roadways. You can't see what condition it's in. There could be a huge pothole in there or a huge sinkhole that formed because of the heavy rain, and you don't want to be stuck in that, and your car can stall out as well. It's hard to tell the depth of how deep that floodwater is. So please avoid driving through floodwaters. Our tower camera downtown here also is showing the flooding threat on I-35 coming into downtown. And that's where MoDOT is saying that parts of Interstate 35 near Penway is flooded. It looks like it might be improving barely there, but the Penway and the Crossroads exit is the best way to get around that floodwaters because you do not want to drive through flood issues. So there's kind of the traffic I-35 heading northbound right here near the Crossroads. That's Penway. There's Southwest Traffic Way, or Southwest Boulevard rather, showing some of the flooding. That's where the cars are slowing down, and you really want to avoid driving through those if you can, because you don't know how deep it is on the interstate, and the drainage is really bad, and we had some spots with over 4 inches of rainfall here. Okay, also out in Oak Grove. Oh, Carly, yeah, do you have an update?
Yeah, we have some new video coming in.
Okay,
Matt
great.
Chatfield, who you guys know comes on our show occasionally, he's down in Raymore, and he had some crazy winds down in Raymore. This is video from his home and a lot of very strong wind. I'm trying to see if he has power or not, because we know a lot of customers are without power, but very strong winds, torrential downpours, all of that impacting up and down the state line, on both sides of the state line. You did mention Oak Grove just a minute ago. Numerous tree limbs are down in the town of Oak Grove, in addition to, I think, every other city. That you could literally throw a dart at the 435 loop and you're going to get some reports of tree limbs down, trees uprooted, power outages, power poles snapped, and we are now up to over 130,000 customers without power. And this is going to be a problem not only for the immediate metro, but really the entire 435 loop. Here's some damage video from earlier in Overland Park showing what used to be a beautiful play set, now turned upside down. And not only is it turned upside down, we also have patio furniture turned upside down. This is going to be a very common scene in a lot of backyards. In addition to that, you can see a little bit of ponding there in the yard. Getting some reports of flash flooding all over the place. From Eudora, I got one of our storm spotters said their whole front yard is flooded, something that doesn't normally happen because of the amount of rain we've been receiving. And Jacob and I have been chatting. We still have the leading edge that still has a severe thunderstorm warning until 5:30, okay? This severe thunderstorm warning does include those of you in Cass County, Henry, Johnson, Lafayette, Pettis, Ray. All of you, actually this goes until 5:45.
Yeah.
And this is all on the Missouri side. There's the radar showing that leading edge. We're talking torrential downpours. The bowing out of this also shows us, at least, indicating on radar that we still have that 60+ mile per hour wind threat along that leading edge. We've seen frequent lightning and of course the flash flooding concern as well as this whole line blows through. But the worst of the weather has now cleared the 435 loop, and it's pushing off to the east, and it's going to impact those of you over towards Odessa, Warrensburg, Holden. And now we're going to start transitioning our thought process into a flash flood concern.
Yeah.
And the amount of rain, 1 to 3 inches of rain, a lot of that fell within about 30 minutes time, causing the massive flash flooding issues that we're seeing all over both sides of the state line.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Carly. So kind of here, we're still watching here this flash flood warning, and I wanted to show you where that is here. I did have some reporters from our storm reports out in Shawnee, Kansas, Deanne, more than 4 inches of rain in the rain gauge out in Shawnee, Kansas. So this flash flood warning is for Douglas, Jefferson, and Overland Park and Johnson County. Here, let me get it on the Johnson County one. This is where we're seeing flash flooding, and this is going to go until 7 o'clock here. So the Johnson County flash flood warning goes until 7 o'clock. This includes Johnson, Leavenworth, and Wyandotte counties. About 250,000 people under this. This is where we could see ponding on roadways, flash flooding problems, and even outside of these warnings, we've seen some flooding concerns. Up in the Northland, there's flooding in Platte County, Clay and Platte County, from Smithville Lake back towards Berry Road, the airport, northern Platte County until 7 o'clock. A flash flood warning there, several thousand people again as well. So again, we want to welcome you here. By the way, we're continuing our team coverage of severe weather across the metro here on Fox 4 News at 5 o'clock. The damaging winds have moved through in the last 2 hours. Those are now pushing east of the metro, and now we're concerned about a flash flooding threat across the metro this evening, because behind the damaging winds, which are moving east, we still have pretty heavy to moderate rainfall here across the metro as we're going to watch the flooding concerns, because this additional rainfall, another inch or so this evening, is going to cause more problems on roadways. We have parts of I-35 near downtown that are flooded, parts of the crossroads, parts of flooding out in Johnson, Wyandotte, Jackson counties, and widespread power outages as well. More than 150 customers, and that number continues to grow over the minutes as we continue with the wind damage reports coming on in. So now we're going to shift gears here and watch this severe wind moving into Warrensburg right now, and I want to zoom in on that and show you where the strongest winds are, because that still poses a damaging wind threat here moving off towards the east. And so Carly, if you want to click around on that and kind of query some of these winds moving right into Warrensburg, there you go, 75-mile-per-hour winds. And there in Johnson County, Missouri, several wind reports and estimates of 65 to 75-mile-per-hour winds. That is very strong, and that's why the severe thunderstorm warning continues. So Johnson County, Missouri, kind of with those peak wind reports here as we head over the next couple of minutes. And kind of putting a forecast track on some of these winds moving off towards the east, moving there into Warrensburg in the next moments, out towards Windsor at 5:26, Sedalia by 5:45, and this severe thunderstorm warning coincidentally goes there until 5:45 as this pushes off to the east, Carly.
We've had Dave DeMarco out and about all afternoon long. Let's get back to Dave. Dave, let's get an update from you. Where are you located? How are the road conditions? And what are you seeing as far as damage is concerned, if any?
Yeah, we're at 40 Highway and Blue Ridge cutoff right now, just turning on to 40 Highway. Wanted to get off the highway where we could see a little more of the conditions people are dealing with and seeing our first tree damage. We'll go back in here and we'll show you this actually right now. We're heading over to some other tree damage that we heard about on Hardy, but I don't know if you can see beyond the dumpster here as we're pulling up and giving you a live look of that rather large limb that's been sheared down there. It's right next to a building, but not on the building, so the good news there, but we unfortunately have heard about some of those other situations. I know actually as we came through, Blue Ridge Cutoff got off there too. Those street lights were out. Right where everyone would have been going to the K and going to a Royals game tonight, which would have been a major headache. They're postponed, so not dealing with that. But then we made it our way up here to 40 Highway. Then those streetlights are working, and you're seeing a lot of that intermittent hit and miss. But we're going to head over there and check out on those damage that we've heard about, and hopefully make sure that everyone's okay here as they've been just trying to get through this storm.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, for your updates here. We've appreciated you out in the Fox 4 Storm Chaser. He's been across Johnson and Jackson counties as this line of damaging winds moved through. So we're still watching pretty moderate rainfall continuing for most of the evening across the metro. The severe threat is now east of the city with damaging winds moving through Warrensburg, Johnson County, Lafayette, Saline, and Pettis counties on the Missouri side. And that warning goes until 5:45. So we continue to have team coverage. We have so many damage reports coming in from across the metro and greater Kansas City areas. We have power outage numbers continuing to climb, flash flooding reports that's causing traffic issues this evening. So there's a lot to cover here on this Friday afternoon and evening. And we'll have a complete recap here as we continue Fox 4 News at 5. We're going to take a quick break and come back with more weather coverage here this evening right after this.